Hello, and you're listening to the Tiny Vet podcast with me, Dr. Nicole, Sue, exotics vet, and my partner who's grinning at me.
Hello, I'm comedian Jez. I was just grinning because I love her. But for anyone out there who thinks humanity is on the downswing, our civilization is collapsing.
It is.
And we no longer have any hope. I just want to say that 2 weeks ago in Tasmania, I ate a spaghetti bolognese pie. So you're right.
Was it good?
It was really delicious, but I feel like it's part of that sort of final wave of the civilization where you just have like the vomitorium.
Yeah.
And everyone's going mad from lead in the water.
But also, like, remember...
It's like just nuts.
Remember KFC pizza? You came up with that.
I know.
And that was like 5 years ago.
I know. That was one of my first ever musical comedy songs that I was reminded of the other
To
week.
be fair, it was really good.
Yeah. For anyone who wants the recipe for KFC pizza, it's you get a pepperoni pizza, and then you mash potatoes, and you put butter in the potatoes and cream, and then you use the mashed potatoes as glue on top of the pepperoni pizza, and then you get KFC hot and spicy if you're in WA. I think nowhere else can get it. And then you peel off all the KFC chicken, and then you place that all into the... Anyway, I have diabetes. Hello.
You can also use the KFC like potato and gravy for the glue as well.
Yeah, you can.
I just make really good mashed potatoes. That's why.
Yes, you're very good at that. I at 38, I do not eat KFC pizza anymore. I miss it.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today, my love?
Fighting fish.
Fighting fish.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
You know what they are?
I do. Yes, I've never owned them, but I've had friends that have owned fighting fish.
Yeah. So the Siamese fighting fish. Some people call them the bettas. Betta.
Oh yes, beta. Yeah.
So that's the other name for them.
Shout out to all my other betas out there, baby. Anyway, yes. Well, you should have got an alpha if you didn't want me to be referring to myself as that.
That study has since been discredited.
Which study? What?
So the alpha beta wolf pack
wolf
structure
thing.
That's been discredited ages ago.
Yeah, I'm talking about dudes who play video games. Like there's no study that we're not betas. I'm talking about people, baby, people. All right, this is the animal podcast. Let's talk about fighting fish.
Just gonna say.
Yeah.
So
Before
fighting
you
fish.
punched me.
Fighting fish. So they're very commonly misunderstood. You'll see them sold in pet stores in like jars or like plastic cups, which is really horrible. To be honest.
Yeah, I'm surprised to learn that.
Yeah.
It's
getting better, but you still will walk into pet stores and you're like, oh, it's jars of fish.
I don't really know anything about them, but is it because you have to keep them separated because they will fight?
Yeah, so that's part of it. So the males will fight.
Okay.
So you have to keep the males individually. The females you can keep in a group.
So you don't want to give everyone just a giant... you can't, like, logistically...
You can't throw everyone in the same tank.
In the store?
Yes.
So so they just put them in
these horrible...
cups and glasses.
Yeah, it's really awful. So they need a minimum of an 11-liter tank.
Yeah, right.
Minimum.
That's a lot of tanks. If you run a pet store, I'm on the pet store people's side.
Ideally,
put them in bottle caps.
Ideally 20 liters, but 11 liters will be okay. And what people go is say, oh, but in the wild they live in puddles or they live in, tiny bodies of water. And yes, they can do that. They do have a remarkable...
That's what you are, a tiny body of water, primarily. 70%. All right, listen, the riff wasn't that great, but my headphone had a thing. I tried to jump back in. It didn't work. All right, move on. I'm going to edit this out. I'm
looking for a new co-host, by the way.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more about, animals, send me an email. So they can live in puddles and small bodies of water.
Okay.
But intermittently, they don't do that their whole lives.
How long can they live in a puddle?
Oh, pretty long, like a couple of weeks.
What?
Yeah, they've got this remarkable ability to live in low oxygen environments, to live in, not fantastic environments, but they can't do that all the time.
Yeah, okay.
So, they're Siamese fighting fish, they're from Thailand, originally, the wild type, and in Southeast Asia, you have what's called the monsoon season, where it rained for like 3 months straight.
Yeah, okay.
And things start to flood.
Right.
So what they've adapted to live in is this waxing, waning, sometimes there's a waterway, sometimes there's not.
Interesting.
That kind of thing. So sometimes, yes, they might get, stranded in these smaller bodies of water, but, when the next big rain comes, then they can move.
Right.
So yes, they can live in these, but it shouldn't be their permanent home.
Right, okay. All right. So if they're in the fish store in like a smaller thing, that's okay for a minute.
Yeah, but not in a cup.
All right, not in a cup. Yeah. It seems like if they're in puddles, it should be fine in the cup. But but then when people buy them, then they have to shift them to like a bigger tank.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need 11 liter tank.
Long term, they need to be in a bigger.
Yeah, minimum, and you still need a filtration system.
Okay.
So even though yes, they can live in not so great water, you probably still should give them good quality water. And the nice thing is for these small tanks, there's a lot of really nice what they call hang-on filters. You just pretty much hang it onto the side of the thing, and it works pretty well for these small tanks. Especially because they're not a type of fish that foul the water. A lot of goldfish will really dirty water. They're not bad, actually. Fighting fish are quite clean.
Oh, okay.
And one thing that people get me is like, oh, but I don't want a whole 11-liter tank, and then I only put one fish in it.
Yeah. But you could put other kinds of fish in, right?
So not so much other kinds. They will still bully them. What? Have you seen them?
They sound like dicks.
They're quite aggressive.
Yeah. They're angry fish that live in puddles.
They're quite aggressive. Like one thing you do is that you show them a mirror and they'll start to display.
What's
to the mirror
display?
They fan their they fan their gills out and they spread their fins. It's very pretty.
Yeah. See, they should be called alphas. They're looking for a fight.
But yeah, so you don't need to have just one fish in an 11-liter tank. You can plant the tank really nicely with aquarium plants. Right. And I often find those tanks really pretty. Yeah. And they do cohabit well with snails and shrimp. What? What's so funny?
Oh, I just feel like I don't know how many fish owners I primarily want a tank for snails, and then also
they're really popular.
One fish in it.
And little shrimp, little freshwater shrimp. Freshwater shrimp. They're really popular. A lot of people here have them.
It's gonna seem like a huge hassle, these.
Well, all fish, yeah, like that's why I don't have them. Like I really like lionhead goldfish because I grew up with them, but I just don't have the time and the resources to maintain a tank. But yeah, a lot of people keep freshwater snails. The ram's horn snails, Malaysian trumpet snails, they're very popular here in Australia.
Yeah.
People keep freshwater shrimp as well.
Oh yeah,
they're
when
cute.
I was single, I used to always be like, "Hey baby, come back and see my snails." Yeah, that got plenty of people into my house.
I want to keep snails. I want to keep snails for a long time.
You're a little grub is why.
But the sad thing is in Australia we can't get the giant African snails.
I've always said that's the sad thing about Australia.
It really is. I love them. I really want one.
Yeah.
They're huge. But you just can't get them here. You can get giant panda snails, which are from Queensland, but they don't get nearly as big.
Oh, I'm so sad.
I know. I just really want an enormous ass snail.
Yeah. All right. So yes, keep fighting fish in 11
liters. 11 liters minimum.
With a bunch of snails.
Snails are cool. Yeah. The Tiny Vet podcast is brought to you by Upilio. Sources for our topics can be found at upilio.io. Outro music by Matt Charleston.